TOA community, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Robert Linkul, traintheolderadult.com. Rocking a new trim. Look at this, I got a new little fade. Got dialed in, got me all trimmed up, looking sharp. I am awfully excited about it, as you can tell. Anyhow, we are not here to talk about my beard. We are talking about fall prevention, and we have one of our annual fall prevention months coming up here soon. But in the meantime, between now and then, I want to talk to you about some of our favorite exercises we do in-house to work on our clients' abilities to stay on their feet, move in multiple directions, move quickly, and increase their ability to not fall down, okay? Now, I've gone on rants and tirades about this before in the past where we discussed the idea of if you stand on one foot, what does that make you better at? It makes you better at standing on one foot. And so when we look into the idea of what does it really take to increase an individual's ability to stay on their feet, to not fall down, and or have something about their body, get manipulated, they trip, they slip, they slide, how do they respond to that quickly? I stand on one foot, I get better at standing on one foot because that's the only task, that's the only difficulty. But I don't stand on one foot and then have an epic reaction to my body that throws me off, both feet up into the air, flat onto the center of my back, or splits my feet, or displaces my feet. So yeah, it's fine to work on ankle stability and foot strength and ground reaction by standing on one foot, but does that make you better balance-wise for when those other situations occur? Not really. So how do we practice those? We're gonna train in multiple directions, okay? So the first one that I really like to look at here is the kickstand. And with the kickstand, this one, we are going to, this is the kickstand, right? Yes, kickstand, we are going to perform this in a fairly dynamic fashion. You can see that I'm dropping a foot and displacing into this hinge rather quickly. The goal to this is to replicate the idea of my hips lowering and falling backwards and then my foot kicking out to stop me in a rather short distance. Now we can do this with load. You see I'm holding kettlebell in each hand. It could be uneven load, maybe 8 kilo in one hand, a 4 kilo in the other, something like that, right? Or I could have a weight in one hand and nothing on the other side, like a traditional suitcase, but still alternate my feet. Now this encourages lowering the hips and displacing my hips backwards. And then the catching technique is hinge based, where I throw a foot behind me. So envision I'm carrying a case of, I'm carrying a watermelon out of the back of a car and I trip on a curb or a lip or a step or whatever it is. I would have to throw my butt down and back, displace my foot behind me to stop my momentum from tripping and falling, okay? That's the idea of the kickstand and the purpose in which we're trying to perform that lift with varied loads, all in that one angle. Now the next one is going to be in that same direction, but we're going to encourage a bigger and deeper step. Now, this is a gate step variation that will ultimately kind of lead into a lunge where we would start to drop a little lower. But instead of hinging or breaking at the hip, I'm simply lowering my hips and throwing my foot behind me to stop my fall, to change direction, push forward and return back to the standing position. Now, for those of you out there that go, man, I can't do lunges. Notice I'm not doing lunges either. That's why we call this a drop gate step, but this would ultimately lead to a drop step lunge. This would be our precursor of a movement that would aid us in the ability to eventually do the full drop step lunge, which as I were to throw my foot back, my momentum was so great and so overwhelming that as I threw my foot back, I would actually have to lower down to decelerate and further and push myself up and forward back to the standing position. And then our final one is one of my preferred, I would call it dynamic or explosive lifts. And it comes from the world of Olympic lifting when you perform something called a drop snatch, or also known as like a heave snatch now. where you would have the bar on your back and you would throw your body down and push your arms up at the same time, ultimately displacing your body below the bar, but the bar doesn't actually move or has minimal movement. The idea is that there isn't a up and then down like I would in a push press or a push jerk, that I simply brace against the load and push my body underneath it, okay, to anticipate securing this load. Now, since we're not in the Olympics and we're not performing Olympic lifts even, it's the philosophy or the thought process behind this that when I'm holding the weight, what I'm hoping for is I'll be able to stabilize this weight, throw my feet apart, and basically disappear my body off of this X and Y axis, where normally there would be this up Y, down Y. We simply, X and Y, drop down to the bottom half, okay? And in doing so, I throw my feet apart, and then I have to decelerate not only my body weight, but the additional load that I'm holding in hand. So the drop gate step lunge that I just showed you a second ago, that's probably the most simplistic, the most easy one we can practice. Then the kickstand would kind of be a middle range of motion. Now we're starting to break at the hip, getting a little bit more technical. And that's probably the one we're going to use the most, right, in real life. But this one is the one that rarely will we jump and throw our feet apart to try to catch ourselves from falling. But it's the quick, fast reaction. If we marry these quick feet, even though we're not training in a forward or backwards direction, we're actually training on a frontal plane, right, where we're throwing our feet apart. Even though we're training along the frontal plane, the body is still training its neuromuscular response, the synapse, to fire to the muscle, move quick, and then in moving quickly, eccentrically control every time I land. Eccentrically control, return. Eccentrically control, return. Every single time it's doing it just that quick in a just tenths of a second, millihundreds of a second, whatever it is, right? So quick. Trying to anticipate and teach the body with your 240 pounds, 245 after this last weekend, I ate pretty well, okay? With your 240 plus, an additional 20 pounds in hand, we are having to eccentrically decelerate load, transition it back up as quick as we can with fast feet. So now when the situation occurs, when I'm backing up, right? I'm at the party, I'm going in to get my freak on, I'm going in to get my dirty dancing going, and somebody says, hey, Patrick Swayze's inside, do you want to come in and hang with them? And they say, well, what are you doing here? And you say, I carried a watermelon. Dirty dancing, okay? When you say that, you're carrying that watermelon and you're backing in and you trip on the curb. When you displace your momentum, your center of mass beyond the base, your feet underneath you, you have to correct. You have to perform something that is going to rescue this fall. And in this case, you're going to throw your butt back, you're going to kick that foot behind you, and you're going to catch yourself from staggering backwards while you hang on to that watermelon. Now, if you have further questions on how to implement these 3 lifts, let me know. Okay, reps and sets, that kind of thing. Can never go wrong with 3 sets of 8 to 15 reps, somewhere around in there. Works out just great. But if you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up down below. And if not, number one, I want to remind you we have our live TOA event November 4th in Folsom, California. Myself, Dan McLean, John Thomas will all be presenting at this event. Very excited to have you come out in person live, be able to spend some time with us, get some hands-on, play on the flywheels, okay, play on all the eccentric gear that we have, all kinds of other things we're bringing in. Great topics, food, giveaways, prizes, all kinds of great stuff. It's gonna be a really fun event. This is an event we take great pride in, and we want every single person, remember there's only 30, okay? We've already sold 10 of those spots, so we're down to 20 people that we can get into our space here, right? We want you to come, we'd love to have you come enjoy some time with us. Go to the website, trainingtheolderadult.com, get some CEUs, have a good time with us. We'll fill you up, give you lots of food, fill up your brain, lots of knowledge, and probably have a couple little workouts in there, especially that last session. We're gonna do 7 finishers / burnouts, right? 7 of those to really arm you and equip you with some overwhelmingly cardiovascular, metabolic, high intensity, HERT style training finishers that are really challenging for your clients to do, but they're only like 5, maybe 4 to 5, 6 minutes long. That's it. They're really short. They're high blasters. We're almost done. We've got 4 to 5 minutes left. What else should we do? Let's do one of these. And we get that big spike in heart rate, that big challenge at the end where the client can leave and go, man, that was fantastic. We're going to do 7 of those in the last 2 hours. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. Any other comments, questions, hit me up down below. Get ready for Fall Prevention Month coming up in November. We're going to share all kinds of content, materials all month long. Actually, I have 2 of these. I believe the other one is in March, maybe April, somewhere around in there. We do our walk, all that great stuff. We want to have you involved in all these every time we can bring and enlighten people on the idea of not falling down, which we know for the older population is probably the most common injury and the most detrimental to their health, their quality of life. And they're all cause mortality, okay? All right, gang. Comments, questions, hit me up down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.